Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. Today's episode, I want to look at something called the Multi-smelter. Seems interesting anyway. So I have already made all of the parts necessary to build it, which are these parts here. So let's go over to the crafting table and set these in here like this. And this will give us the controller block for the multi-smelter. And as always, it gives you all of the information on how to make it there. And we get an achievement because making the multi-smelter is an achievement. I didn't really think about it last episode, but I do find it interesting that the achievement for the large steam boiler is to start up a large steam boiler. Whereas it seems like the achievement for just about everything else is making it. So I thought that was kind of weird or strange, maybe? I don't know. Because basically now that I've made this and I got the achievement, I could just throw this away or recycle it and get some of the parts back from it or the materials out of it. So I guess it is what it is, I suppose. Anyway, I've already made all the rest of it and put it all together. And so the controller block will go right there. And then hopefully these will all turn green and it will indicate that it is ready to go. Now, of course, we have to do our maintenance on it. I made up a batch of the duct tape here. Oh, oil plant. Why did I get an achievement for oil plant? That's odd. Start up a distillation tower. Well, that has to be a kind of a bug of some kind because I do not have a distillation tower. That is very interesting. I wonder where that is at. Yeah, very, very interesting because I do not have a distillation tower. I have not made one. So I don't know why I was given an achievement for starting up a distillation tower. So obviously some type of bug there. Okay, so I apologize for this chest being in the way. I wasn't really prepared for where I wanted to put this particular thing. Let me sleep the night away so my steam will stay level. So ignore this chest as I said, but here we have the multi-smelter. Now, the multi-smelter you'll see on the second line there says it smelts up to 8 to 128 items at once. And I do not know what that means. Now, the multi-smelter used to say that it smelted 6 to 18 items, and I knew what that meant. I knew how it worked. I don't know what it means by 8 to 128 items. Now, as far as I know, you can smelt anything that you can cook in a regular furnace. So I'm going to get some things that would cook up. And as far as I know, it does not work like an alloy smelter, but I'm going to actually test that here in just a minute. So we need to give it some power, and what I have done right now is I am using the low voltage energy hatch, as you can see there. So I'm going to take a low voltage battery buffer and point that into the multi-smelter. I need a battery, and I used to have extra batteries laying around. That's a small sodium battery, which is kind of low on power, but let's go ahead and swap it out with this lithium one here. I want to use a lithium battery, I think. So I'm going to go back over here, and what I want to do is put this in and let it do where it empties the battery into the buffer and also the energy hatch so that it's basically, full. And then I'm going to let it fill back up so that when I put this in here, when I put it back in here, I should say, it'll be a full battery. And this is going to let me measure how much power gets used, because I also want to do some measurements to see how worthwhile this entire thing is. Now, there's an input bus. That's where you'll put items that you want to smelt. And an output bus, obviously that's where the smelted items will come back out. And this chest is really annoying, so I really do apologize for that. I just don't feel like moving all that stuff in there just yet. Okay, so right now it should be, it's disabled. That's what we want. This is full. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a stack of potatoes like that. And I need a timer. I do want to time this. Shoot, I have to find a timer. I don't need exact numbers. I just kind of want to know roughly if this is worthwhile. So if I hit this to start it, it starts up. And I can see already it took 8 of the potatoes. It took 8 of the potatoes. So we're going to wait until this thing turns off, and that will indicate when it's done smelting those 8 potatoes. Okay, so it was about 25 seconds, maybe 24 seconds with me bad timing and whatnot. So you can see there I have 8 cooked potatoes. All right, and if we go over here and look, 97,756. So we used about, what is that going to be? 2244 EU. 2244 EU. I want to make a note of all this, so I'm going to write all this down somewhere. So it took 25 seconds, 2244 EU. Okay. Now, why do I want to know that? Well, basically, I want to compare that to using a regular smelter. So here I have the basic electric furnace. I say regular smelter, but it's really a furnace. It's interesting that it's a furnace if it's one block, but if it's a multi-block, suddenly it's a smelter. We're going to take that out, and we're going to do the exact same experiment, basically. And we're going to supply this with power, and I'm going to put the battery in it, let it discharge so that it fills up all the buffers necessary, like that. And then I'm going to refill it. And I'm going to do the exact same thing as I said. So let me make sure it's disabled, which it is. And I'm going to put in 8 potatoes like that. Okay, so full battery, take it back out. Woo! And put it over here. Okay, so same type of a thing, and go. Okay, so that took about 51 seconds. So about twice as long, all right. And the amount of power we used, well, we can already see that's a lot more. We used about 4,498. So again, writing all these down, I got 51 seconds and 4,498. So basically with the multi-smelter, it smelted the same number of items in half the time with half the power. So, you know, that's really not bad. That's not bad at all. So let's take this back out, and we're going to put this back over here like so. Now, one of the things I do want to check is, as I said, I believe it does not work as an alloy smelter. So let's just test that just to make sure. We're going to get a gold and silver. Now remember, alloy smelter will combine gold and silver into electrum, right? So we're going to give this power again, like so. And I am going to disable it to make sure it doesn't start before I want it to. I'll put a gold and a silver in there, and enabled. Oh, it did take them. So maybe it does also work as an alloy smelter. I was not expecting this. Honestly, truly, I did not think that this would happen. So it is running. I'm wondering if it's going to take the same amount of time. It looks like it's going to take the same amount of time. So if I put in a fewer number of items, then it appears that, oh no, it did not work as an alloy smelter. It did not combine them into electrum. What it did was it broke them down into their nugget form. And that's how you get the nuggets, is you would normally put an ingot in the furnace, and then you would end up getting the nuggets. So that's what it did. Okay, so it does not combine them into electrum. It does not work as an alloy smelter. It only works as a basic furnace. So that's good to know. Now, the next test I want to run, although I kind of already did run it, was I did want to know what would happen if I put in, 4 of one item. Oh, that scared me. The steam damaged me as it shot out of there. It scared me. Anyway, silliness. 4 of one item and 4 of the other. I think we've already seen what happens. I am going to measure this though, because I want to see if it's any different for any reason. My guess is that it would use the same amount of power and time, but just to make sure, doing due diligence on how this thing works. So I'll wait for this to charge up. Okay, so I've got 4 potatoes, 4 granite cobblestone, and go. So it's running. It did take all of them there, so we'll see when it gets done. Okay, and again, about 25 seconds or so, and I did get both of the things cooked up into their smelted form. So that does work, and 97,756, so that's again 2,244. So again, it used the same amount of power. All right. So as a quick check, let's take this out and refill it again. And I know this probably seems a little bit redundant and silly, but you know, it's good to find out how effective this type of stuff is when you're going to go use it. So the question I have now is, I'm going to sleep the night away. Boy, night came around pretty quickly. Okay, I'm going to see what happens if I just use one item, one potato, right? All right. So go. Okay, and again, about 25 seconds and 2,244 EU. So even if I'm only doing one item, it's going to use the same amount of power to do it. Okay. And the next test that I have is, what if I have 8 of one item and 8 of another item, like so, and go. We can go look in here. Well, that's interesting. So it took 4 and 4. So it's only going to do 8 items at a time, but it appears that it will take them from all of the areas here. So in other words, if I'm thinking that if I had 4 different items, it would take from them evenly. That would seem to be a reasonable guess. I don't really have items that I can test that with currently, so I'm not going to bother. But yeah, so yeah, this basically will cook 8 items at a time. Now, the next question that I have is, again, because this smelter block says it's 8 to 128 items at once. And now the old one, as I said, said 6 to 18, and that number was variant depending on what kind of heating coils you used. And here we have the cupronickel coils. This is the lowest tier of heating coils. I don't yet have the ability to make the Canthal coils, so I can't test that. But the other thing that's possible, because there's such a big range in that 8 to 128, is the amount of power. Okay, so right now, as I said, I have this low voltage energy hatch, but the question is, what happens if I use a medium voltage energy hatch with, of course, a medium voltage battery buffer, right? So let's test this out. Let's put in the medium voltage energy hatch, like, oh, we got to take that one out, obviously. Okay, so medium voltage energy hatch there, and we're going to put the medium voltage battery buffer there. Okay, so the machine is okay. I just need a medium voltage battery, like that. And I'm going to run the same experiment, basically. I'm going to put this in and let it fill up the buffer and the energy hatch so that it's full, and then I'm going to fill it back up again, because I do want to test this with a full battery, because that will give me easier to read numbers to see. I'm going to make sure this is disabled. It is. And I need another stack of potatoes, because I want to do it with a full stack just in case. I'm not thinking it's going to actually cook an entire stack of potatoes, but on the off chance that it does. No, it probably won't, but I want to put in a full stack of potatoes so I can see exactly how many potatoes it takes and it cooks. All right, so we'll go down here and we'll put in full stack of potatoes. And again, we're going to use a timer on my phone and go. So it's running, and I got hit by the steam again. And again, it only took 8 potatoes. All right, so it's running. Might go faster because it's got more power. We'll see. Yep. Okay, about 13 seconds that time. About 13 seconds to do the same number of potatoes, and used about, what is that? 4,290. 4,290. So about 13 seconds, 4,290. So roughly half the time and twice the power, which is probably reasonable considering that we went up a tier of power. Now, I was really hoping that it would cook more than 8 potatoes, but it does seem like that would be the limit there. So again, this thing says 8 to 128. I will have to look at what happens when I replace these with Canthal coils to see what happens there. Now, in the interest of making sure I test everything, I did make a medium voltage furnace. Let's plop down a medium voltage furnace right there, and we'll test the speed of this in cooking 8 items just to see how well it works. So put the battery buffer attached to it like so, and put the battery in so it fills up the buffers. All right, and put the battery back in. Okay, make sure this is disabled, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potatoes. Put that in the furnace, and again, we're gonna test it, and so go. All right, so I ended up with about 25 seconds and about 9,580. No, 8,580 EU. So 25 seconds, 8,580 EU. So again, twice the time and EU cost of using the multi-smelter. Now, combining or comparing things, the advanced furnace used twice as much power and took half the time as the basic furnace, which we expect already. But even in that comparison, the multi-smelter is always better. So yeah, those are kind of my questions about the multi-smelter. Basically, number one, it does not work as an alloy smelter, so you can't combine materials in it to get things like alloys like electrum or invar or copper nickel or things like that. Number two, it does seem to process 8 items at a time in the low voltage. I would argue that probably at this point, I'm going to stick to low voltage. It's a little bit slower. It's still faster than smelting it in a furnace, which is good in one of the electrical furnaces anyway, and it's probably a lot faster than trying to do it in any of the steam furnaces. And that seems to be okay. So that's what I'm probably going to use for now, because I can't imagine that I would want to do it any other way. Just get rid of all that because I don't need that anymore. I will be moving this chest because it's in the way, obviously. But there you go. The multi-smelter, what was I saying? Oh yes, okay, so you cannot use it as an alloy smelter to combine materials. It is pretty quick. It does use a reasonable amount of power compared to using a regular furnace. So in actuality, you are better off. Let me go look at this again. Yeah, so it takes half the time and half the power of using the regular electrical furnace. So you're actually better off to use the multi-smelter. And what else? That's all I know for now. Again, I am not sure why, what the 8 to 128 items is. What I know is that before, when it said 6 to 18, that meant with the lowest tier of heating coils, it was 6. With the medium tier of heating coils, it was 12 at a time. And with the highest tier of heating coils, it was 18 at a time. Now it says 8 to 128. My guess, if I had to guess, might be that it's 8, 64, and 128 for those different tiers. But until I get to the point where I can make the Canthal coils, I really don't know that for certain. But anyway, there is the multi-smelter, all done, all built, a great way to smelt things. And again, I especially like the fact that I can cook more than one thing at a time, if you will. In other words, I can... not that it's that big of a deal necessarily, but it's probably good to be able to do that. Let's take the low voltage energy. Wait, the low voltage battery buffer, did I put it away? I did. I did put it away. So let's take the low voltage battery buffer, put it back, aim it back into the energy hatch, and put the battery in there. And I think that, about the only thing I could really do is get different kinds of, let's see, I've got, what could I cook? I could cook, I could cook this. So I could say chicken, beef, pork chop, and fish. 4 different kinds of foods, if you will. So let's go back down here. And again, just want to make sure it's disabled. Disabled, there we go. And boom, 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 boom. And then start it up. And then as you can see, all of them have been taken. So as long as it adds up to 8 items, that's what it will take. And it does seem like it would probably take it evenly from the input slot there. So that is probably a good thing as well. You do want to make sure that your output slots are available. A minute ago I had some cooked potatoes in there. As I understand it, when it cooks the items, if it doesn't have a place to put it in the output bus, it just deletes it. It's just removed. It's gone. So if you have these output slots blocked, you will just lose the items, which obviously is not what you want. But yeah. So anyway, there you go. The multi-smelter, typical multi-block as far as things are concerned in GregTech, works pretty good. It seems like to me. Again, smelts things in about half the time, half the power as compared to a regular furnace, with some limitations, as I already talked about. I wanted to talk to you guys too about episodes. I know that they have been few and far between, and a lot of that's because a lot of it has to do with my work schedule and my life schedule. It's really hard for me to get time to play a lot of Minecraft, but it's also because it's really hard to record episodes. Everything takes a lot of time to do and to make, and there's got to be time that's spent mining, and then every once in a while I've got to go cut down charcoal to be able to put into this thing to get more power, and that means I have to go cut down trees, and then I have to refill the charcoal pit, and there's just a lot of busy work that goes on, and sometimes it happens, it can happen in the middle of trying to record something. You try to plan things out as best as you can, and it doesn't always work out the way that you hoped. So that concept of things, along with another thing, which is that I don't really think that anybody needs to see how things are built anymore at this point in time in this playthrough. For example, I didn't show you how this multi-smelter was put together. The controller block tells you the parts you need. It describes what you need. I mean, if I notice something that it doesn't seem right or is worded badly, I will say something. But other than that, it's pretty clear and obvious how to do that. And putting together these multi-blocks is pretty much the same thing each time you do it. So I don't think I need to go through that. So that, combined with the other thing I said, I think what I'm going to start doing from now on is that rather than trying to do episodes where I show you what I'm doing or try to do something on camera, I think instead I'm going to do episodes where I show you what I have done since the last episode. And there will be a benefit in that I can do something like that every week. So it'll be, by the end of the weekend, I'll record something, says here's what I've done over this past week. I'll be able to put out that episode. And so the episodes will come out a little bit more frequently. I'll show off things that I've been doing, things that I've been accomplishing. If there is something that I can do on camera that's, fairly important or fairly interesting, I will do so. But for the most part, I think I'll just show what I have been doing or what I have done. And that will get episodes out on a more regular basis, which I think will be better. And, again, if I build something, crazy or whatever, I do have some things in mind. I'll show how they work and all that stuff. I just don't think that we need the, step by step of each individual block being placed. I don't think that any of us needs that. So, but I hope that works out for you guys. It'll mean more frequent episodes. It'll be easier for me because I can just play the game and do things. A lot of times I get off work and I come home and I just kind of do things, and I I want to do stuff, and I can do stuff and get things done, and it's a lot easier than having to worry about recording what I'm doing. And so I'll be able to get out more frequent episodes that you guys will be able to watch, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more interesting, because instead of just seeing me put blocks together, you'll actually see the things that are built and what they accomplish. But let me know what you guys think about that. As of course, comment section down below. Leave me comments, any kind of comments, good, bad. If you like what I'm doing, tell me. If you don't like what I'm doing, tell me. If I am just screwing things up royally, let me know, because again, I'm not an expert at this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I do appreciate all of your feedback, and I take it all. It's very good. Before I finish this real quick, and I hopefully this person is still watching my videos. Somebody a while back had asked me what texture pack I was using, and I told that person I would get back to him, and I don't think that I ever did. So I am not, sometimes I am bad at that things. So let me go in here real quick, and is it under options? Yeah, resource packs. Okay, so these are the ones that I use. Minimalist Technology Legacy. I think that's what it's called. Empty NEI module, and that has something that does compatibility with it with NEI, as far as I know. There's another one that's called ZT, Zarin's Subtlety. That's another one that I looked at, which is pretty nice. I did decide ultimately that I liked this Minimalist Technology one better. So for that person, hopefully if you're still watching my videos, I totally apologize for not getting back to you sooner. I hope that makes up for it. And that will, like I said, show you what a resource pack I use for the textures, which I do kind of like them. There are aspects of them that are better. Ultimately, I do think a lot of these machines just look the same, and it does kind of get on my nerves a bit, but the interfaces inside of them are a little bit more valuable. They are a little bit more self-explanatory, I think. But anyway, that's enough of that. As I said, that's going to do it for this episode. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. As I said, if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. If I'm doing something right, let me know. And if you can't think of anything to say, tell me a joke. I love jokes. I love any kind of jokes. Try to keep it clean. But tell me a joke. I'd love to hear a good joke. Haven't heard a good one in quite a long time. As always, I thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.